Phil Olsen joins us now in the Full Court Press. Phil is an all-time Logan High great, Utah State great, 9 great years in the NFL. Phil, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Well, thanks, Eric. Thanks for having me.
And first of all, really appreciate your connections to Utah State, checking in. I know that you were part of many broadcasts over the years after your NFL career with our good friend Bob Appoon, who helped us arrange this interview. So I always appreciate your insights and what you see on the field and what's been happening around Utah State athletics over the years.
Well, thank you. And, I had the opportunity to be part of covering the Aggies with Bob Appoon for 4 years, and so we had 4 years of broadcasts that were very special, and really enjoyed doing that. I had a chance to travel with my brother Merlin for 12 years doing the NFL on TV, and really developed an appreciation and a respect for what goes on in the broadcast booth. And so I was able to bring some of those things to the broadcast booth at Utah State, and we had a really good run. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
So you were the last Utah State football player to be selected in the first round, which seems crazy. It's been such a gap of years between you were selected in the first round to when Jordan Love was selected just a few weeks back. Just describe to us that experience of all the attention and focus on you and your career, what you're able to do in the collegiate level, and then being able to go as having one of the first names called and selected in the NFL draft that year.
Well, the draft has changed a lot since then, and back in 1970, I mean, the NFL, most of the NFL teams, I think all of them had been through Logan, and I'd had a chance to meet with most of them, and so we had a pretty good indication that I was going to be drafted in the first round by someone. I had hoped that I would get drafted by the Denver Broncos, so I wanted to stay, in the Mountain West, and so we had some favorite teams, and we had certainly talked to them, and Denver had indicated that if I was still available when they drafted, that I would be drafted by the Broncos. But I was drafted. I was the 4th player picked in the 1970 draft. Terry Bradshaw was the first player taken in that draft, and Mike McCoy, a big defensive tackle from Notre Dame, was the 2nd player taken, and then Mike Phipps, a quarterback from Purdue, was the 3rd player taken, and I was the 4th by then the Boston Patriots.
Yeah, that Patriots team. I'm a big fan of the Patriots, whether they're in Boston or New England. More so New England. No offense. Phil, Ajay Salveson here. Grateful to have you on here on the Full Court Press. Thanks for your time. Mike McCoy, you just mentioned him. You guys had a relatively similar, connection, and it's unfortunate as well. You got a chance to participate in the College All-Star game in Chicago, Illinois, and McCoy's the one that had fell on your right knee, I believe, and I think it ended your 70 season. I don't mean to bring up that memory, but I did want to ask about the College All-Star game. What was that like?
Well, it was a great opportunity to be selected to play in the College All-Star game. It was, I don't know whose idea this was, to bring the best college players around the country together in Chicago and then play against that year's Super Bowl champions. And, that year it was the Kansas City Chiefs. And so it was a great opportunity to meet a lot of these wonderful players from big schools and around the country, and to get a chance to spend some time with them. And as you mentioned, it was very unfortunate that Mike McCoy fell on my leg, and so I had to have knee surgery, before my rookie season even started. And back then, knee surgery was done considerably different than it's done today, and so I ended up missing my rookie year as a result of having to be in a cast for 8 weeks following that surgery.
Oh, 8 weeks. Oh, my word. Wow. Your situation, because of that injury, makes things a little bit different. But when it still came time for you to be able to play for the first time in the NFL, how maybe, as you suggested, times there are different now, but there's got to be certain expectations, maybe pressures on players that are selected so high, and especially in the first round of the NFL draft. And how might that apply to what Jordan Love may be going through today?
Well, I think you're right. I think there are very high expectations placed on anybody that's drafted in the first round, and I consider myself very fortunate to have been able to come back from that knee surgery and to be able to play as long and as well as I did. And after my rookie year, I was able to the Rams were able to work out a situation to get me to the Los Angeles Rams. So I had the opportunity to go and play for the same team that my older brother Merlin was playing on, and so that was a real exciting time in my life. But I was fortunate to be able to earn a starting position, and I'll never forget my first game in the NFL. We played in the college, or we played actually in Canton, Ohio, the Pro Football Hall of Fame as their Hall of Fame game, and we played a game against the Houston Oilers in the stadium there, and I got my first quarterback sack in the NFL in that game, and that was a very exciting thing for me, and it's great to have the opportunity to play on the same team and on the same defensive line with my brother.
Looking back at that 1971 season, of course, as you already mentioned, you played with your brother Merlin. The youngest other brother, I guess, Orrin, also played for the Kansas City Chiefs. And at one point, it was the first time ever that three brothers played in the league together. How memorable is that? With all the memories, the great memories you have, to have three brothers in the league together, that has to be special, Phil.
Well, it was unique. I think there have been some other families that have had three brothers play, but not at the same time. So that was really an unusual situation for all three of us to be playing at the same time. And I was in Denver with the Broncos. Merlin was in LA with the Rams, and Orrin was with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we had a chance with the Broncos to play against the Kansas City Chiefs twice that year. We beat them twice, and I think 1976, and that was really a special memory for me, not only playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, but having the opportunity to beat them, because they had a real good football team in 1976.
Having your brother Merlin in the league with all of his successes that he had, how much of that helped you? How much of that, perhaps in some way or form, may have hindered you?
Well, I think the same would have been true for our younger brother Orrin. It puts the spotlight on you. I mean, so a lot of people know about you, but you still have to play. And if you're not able to play, it won't help much at all. In fact, it'll hurt you. But I think that for me, having an older brother do so well in college and be drafted in the NFL, I think as I was coming, because Merlin was 8 years older than I am, so he was already into the NFL before I got out of high school. And so I think a lot of colleges around the country had heard about me because of my relationship with Merlin. And so it meant that a lot of schools were coming to watch me play, and were asking for game film, and were trying to talk to me on the telephone. I was absolutely amazed at the number of scholarship offers I was getting coming out of Logan High School from schools all over the country that I really knew nothing about. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that Merlin was my older brother. But as I said, it puts the spotlight on you, and then you have to be able to play, because if you can't play, it's not going to help. So I think that Orrin experienced the very same thing as he came out of high school and was recruited all over the country. And my parents had actually moved to Orem, Utah, and so he was playing football at Orem in the shadow of BYU down there, and somehow, some way, they were able to convince him that that's where he needed to go to college. And he's the only one. There are nine Olsens. I have three brothers, 5 sisters. 8 of the 9 went to Utah State, and Orrin was the only one that didn't. he went to that school somewhere south of Logan.
We won't mention that name. Good,
Sure, he never
good
gets
call,
to live
Phil.
that down. Yeah.
Hey, I got to ask you. I know times were different. Your situation was different because you were able to earn your starting position because you were just extremely talented. You came in and just took advantage of the opportunity. For Jordan, he's in a different situation as he backs up Aaron Rodgers, future Hall of Fame quarterback. What advice would you give to Jordan as he starts his career behind a future Hall of Fame quarterback?
Well, it's a great question. I think that my advice to him would be to start right now, to not waste any time. That he needs to be a student of the game, the professional game, and I think he's fortunate to go to a program that has a history like the Packers do, and I'm very hopeful that Aaron Rodgers will receive him into onto that team and will be a good mentor for him. Aaron went through that when he came to the Packers when Brett Favre was the starting quarterback. So he understands what that looks like, and so it's going to be interesting to see the response that he gets. I think there are a lot of people in Green Bay that were hopeful that they would use that first-round draft choice to bring in another wide receiver or running back or something. And so, there's going to be some folks that aren't excited about the fact that he's going to be there as probably a non-participant in his first season. But there's so much that he can learn, and there is no question about the fact that Jordan has extraordinary arm talent. I've talked to people that were at the combine, people that have seen him work out, people that have worked with him. I've been to Aggie games all the way through his career and seen him just do some amazing things. So there is no doubt about the fact that he has remarkable arm talent. And so now it's about learning the game of professional football, and it's different than college football. In coming all the way down to the size of the football itself. The football, the NFL football is a little bit different shape than the college football, and it's a little different, throws a little bit differently. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly he can pick that up. I think that for a lot of young quarterbacks that come into the NFL, one of the worst things that can happen to them is that they play too early. Because as you know, that a big part of a quarterback's success comes from their confidence in their ability to complete a pass. So when you think about it, throwing the ball 40, 50 yards downfield to a receiver that runs a 4.2 40, being covered by a defensive back that runs a 4.2 40 with wind blowing from left to right, 20 miles an hour, and three defensive linemen and two linebackers getting ready to knock you on your backside. If you don't have some confidence in your ability to complete that pass, there's a very good chance that it's not going to be completed, because when you throw the football, there are only three things that can happen, and two of them are bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. When I was conversing with Bob Apoon about getting connected with you, he had mentioned that you have a connection with David Yost, the former offensive coordinator for Jordan Love.
Well, David is a friend of mine, and I did some work with Matt and his staff when they were at Utah State, and I've been doing a little bit of work with them at Texas Tech, and so I've been talking to David Yost a bit, and obviously about Jordan and his ability, and Dave Yost is a huge fan of Jordan Love's, and can talk to you at length about his talent and his ability, and I think that Jordan really missed Dave Yost in as the offensive coordinator. I think they ran a lot of the offense that Dave Yost had run 2 years ago. That the Aggies averaged almost 50 points a game with their offense, and a lot of that had to do with this amazing offense that Dave Yost was able to engineer, but he couldn't have never run that offense had he not had Jordan Love back there as the quarterback. It never would have worked as well as it did with Dave Yost calling the plays and Jordan Love executing them.
Phil Olsen, legendary Aggie, legendary Cache Valleyite, legendary Logan Grizzly. You can go on and on and on about Phil Olsen and his career. He joins us here on the Full Court Press. Phil, what was the hardest transition to make when you went from college to the NFL for you?
It's a great question. Transition is always difficult. But I think that it was a big transition getting married and moving to the East Coast to Boston. That was a huge transition. I think that the game I didn't find that as difficult and complicated as I thought it might be. I realized very quickly that I had athletic ability to compete with the players that were there, and so that was because that's always the question in a player's mind: Do I belong? Can I play at this level? And I think that for a lot of players coming out of high school going into college, this is one of the things that eliminates a lot of them, is that they might have been the greatest player on their high school team, maybe one of the greatest players in the area, but when they get to college, every one of those players that are there, had a similar background, and so there's kind of a weeding out process of, do I belong? Can I play at this level? And a lot of it is not just athletic ability, but it's your confidence in yourself. And so as I went into the NFL, I think that one of the biggest transitions was really the travel, the fact that that we were the game was more sophisticated, and the training was starting to get more complicated, and but I think the biggest transition was really getting married and then moving to the East Coast. That was probably the most difficult part of that, especially that first year.
Phil, you've been generous with your time. One last question before we let you go. Just professionally, now in your life after football, your life after broadcasting, as it were, you've been doing some pretty interesting things with what you're doing now, helping people, kind of connecting the right dots with people and their abilities. Why don't you just quickly expound on that, what you're doing these days professionally?
Well, thank you. I have a company called Know Your Strengths, and we use assessment tools to help people to understand the uniqueness of how they are wired. And so we've got clients all over the country, some international clients. We're translated into 21 different languages. So we have assessments that we use which give us a look at the amplitude or intensity of what we call the four cornerstone traits of behavior: dominance, extroversion, pace, and conformity. How people make decisions, how they process information, what motivates them, what demotivates them. So we work with clients to help them to understand what are the profiles of the people who would be most likely successful working for them in different positions. And so we help them to hire the right people. We do a lot of executive coaching. We do a lot of leadership development. We do a lot of job modeling. That's pretty much what we do. We do a lot of work in athletics as well. We've got some clients around the country. Duke University Athletics is one of our clients, and we've done a lot of work with Utah State University and others. That's pretty much what we do. But helping people to understand the uniqueness of how they're wired, and to validate them in the strengths of who they are, and to help them to understand that who they are is not only okay, it's great, but they need to be who they are and not try to be someone they're not.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, Phil, great insights, great background. We really appreciate it. You've been a great ambassador for Utah State, both on and off the field, and appreciate the insight and time and how it kind of applies to maybe something that a current Aggie is now going through as he prepares for the NFL in his venture into the pro leagues. So,
well, thank you, and I am very confidently hopeful that Jordan Love is going to transition really well, and he's a great young man. Very impressed with him, and he's going to be an excellent ambassador for Utah State. And Utah State is a very special place. Cache Valley is a very special place, and they did a lot for me growing up as a kid, and a lot for me while I was at Utah State, and I love to come back, and I've loved staying involved. And Utah State and Cache Valley has given me a lot, and I'm always happy to be able to give a little bit back.
Hey, thanks for your time, Phil. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate
Thank
it.
You.